the sound. So yeah, and that is finally when he got to get to drums, yeah. And another video, and I'll explain it to you a little more later. It's, my husband loves nature. So, and he gave me this story, like this idea about ants, and you can look at it. It's kind of a little bit sad, but yeah, and it doesn't really have sound, so it should be fine. Interesting, yeah. And when I was trying to find you the visual for this, I also found a few videos. They were just not that dramatic, where people would find one ant walking in circles, walking, and yeah, unfortunately it happens many times that they would walk themselves to death. They don't drink, they don't eat. Yeah, so that's how much they depend on each other, right? And they can't live alone, right? They're truly a hive mind. And sometimes we can see thousands of them can die like that because they just can't separate, right? They have to follow the leader. And if there's no leader, they also lose the purpose, yeah? So yeah, today we're gonna talk about third law of the principles of creation that we were studying, and we were trying to approach it from the viewpoint of universal laws, the way unification thought approaches it, right? And third law is that everything has a purpose, right? And it looks like it's a simple idea, right? But it's actually very interesting. Also today, hello from my husband, we were talking in the morning, and he said, there's this interesting study they did with the primates. Apparently from 1960s, the scientists were trying to teach primates to use sign language, and they succeeded. There are a lot of primates who actually learn to use sign language, and even they have cases when they would teach it to their offspring. They actually teach them to use sign language. So they've been talking to primates, and primates would be able to talk what they feel or what they want, like react to human beings. But the very interesting thing, apparently, that they realized that primates never did, which was very natural human trait. How do you think? What they didn't do? Stella says facial expressions. Yes, I guess it's a good one. But what is it else? How do you think? In their communication with human beings, how are they distinctly different from us? Even though apparently they're able to learn to communicate. They all look the same. That's a good point too, if you think about it. Yeah, we are much more uniquely different, but still not that. We're more talking about communication and thought process. apparently they never ask questions. They react, they kind of make statements like I'm hungry, but they never asked questions, any questions. Right? And we were again talking about it with my husband. It's amazing that for human beings, it's pretty much as soon as you start talking. Yeah, that's the whole point, right? The three-letter question is, as I remember, yeah, some of my kids started talking at 2, some of them started talking at 13 months. There is one lady here. But, yeah, one of the first questions is, why? And even yesterday, it was so amazing when I visited young Formbies. They're young Formbies. It was so cute, right? They are 2 months old, the girls. But you can see when I came, and they didn't see my face. They see a few faces, right? The grandparents are often there, so it's very beautiful to see this family, 3 generations of family really supporting and helping each other and taking care of those 2 beautiful girls. But you can see she's looking at me with wonder. Like, I don't know, again, at 2 months they already can see, especially if you're close to them, but there's like this. And then she smiled, tried to smile back to my smile. And then she started fussing, one of them, right? So grandma brought her to the window, kind of to look at the window, and she was really like that. Looks like, yeah, she had this question in her little cute face, yeah? So, but it's interesting that it is definitely a very special prerogative, or apparently, right, it's been scientifically proven that that's what people do. That's what people do. We have this question, right? Why? And again, since pretty early age, if you think about yourself, we have this question, why am I here? I also like this picture. You see the dog doesn't really look at the sunset or the river. Yeah, so, but this is our natural and very important question, yeah? And apparently, a lot of, like most of the time, we do mostly search for this. Meaning, fulfillment, connection, significance. We want to find this. And it's very important for human beings to understand it, choose it, embody it, right? But a lot of times what happens, yeah, if we look around us in our world, is that we try to discover this purpose or set up this purpose based on all those things that are around us, right? Our emotions, and we know they change, the trends that also change, desires, fears, social expectations. But there is also those bigger things that usually feel to us that they're more important and they're more substantial, right? And throughout the history, again, they changed back and forth, yeah, but even right now, like I told you, I'm trying to a little bit watch or kind of follow what's happening in my country of origin in Russia. And you see there is a lot of push right now on this patriotic idea, right? That you have to be ready to die for your country. Of course, again, there's a lot of questions. What are people actually dying for? But the enforcement comes, yeah, it's your country. You shouldn't ask questions. You should be honored to die for your country. And again, to a lot of people, it does, and we know each one of us experienced it too, belonging to something bigger. Apparently, even for the ants, we do have this little bit of it in there too, right? That we want to be part of the whole. We don't want to be alone, right? So, and there is those 2 parts, right? And what divine principle teaches us, principles of creation, is yes, there is this beautiful, what we call circle of life, right? And that everything lives for the sake of something else. Yeah, we had this again fun conversation with my daughter. We were driving back home at night. She works at night, so we were driving back home, and in the headlights we see this beautiful fox. you know. And I had all those mixed feelings. Like she said, oh look, she's so beautiful, she's such a magnificent animal. And I said, yeah, but this magnificent animal keeps trying to eat our chickens. It actually recently ate 4, right? So we have to really protect them. And one free soul kept trying to escape, and apparently we didn't notice that she escaped. So now we're closing them for the night, but this poor soul escaped and couldn't get back, and we found feathers in the morning. So I was saying like, but she's evil. And she was telling me, no, Mama, she's not evil. She just needs to leave. And I said also, how about she lives somewhere else? And she said, but what if your ancestors live here? So it is your place of life. But of course she was right? That's a circle of life, right? The fox is obligatory carnivore. Right? We know dogs now became omnivores. Bears are omnivores. They can eat berries. But some of the animals, like cats, cat family, and foxes, right? They're carnivores. They can't survive the other way, right? And in the nature, everything lives for the sake of the other. And even if our body dies, it feeds the trees, right? And the earth. Yes, so there is this beautiful circle of life, and it is created by God this way, right? And apparently even, again, what we learned from true parents, that even God also follows, absolutely abides by this law, and lives for the sake of the creation, right? It became a full circle, right? It doesn't just goes from up, down, right? It's not a linear, it's a circular movement. Everything in this world in a circular movement, and eventually God also becomes a part of this circle. It's never like on the top, on the throne. I mean, not it's. Heavenly Parent is never on the top position. I mean, here, yes, in the picture, right? But we already were talking about it in our previous talks, talking about the relationships, that it actually is a continuous circle. Yeah. And the question here is, and that's what I was also thinking, I wanted to let you know that when I was thinking about this topic, and that was the plan, to talk about principles of creation, right, one by one throughout this year. And I was thinking, yeah, that this is the next topic about the purpose. And of course, apparently, that's what's been on my mind a lot. And I can say that for me, myself, there's still so many questions, and there's still so much emotional turmoil about this topic, right? How do we find this purpose? Where does it come from? How do we combine those two, sometimes seemingly very contradictory things that push us to different direction? Do I focus on myself, or what I want, what I feel at the moment? Or I focus only on other people or higher purpose, whatever it needs me to be? Did you have these experiences in your life? Yeah, definitely. That's been a lot going on for me. Again, a little bit of honesty and vulnerability. Since all of you are wonderful, my wonderful family, and a lot of you are older than me, except for a few people in the first row, right? And definitely, I've been struggling it a lot, and feeling kind of ashamed to bring it to God. But that's been in my mind a lot. I know what I have to do, but what if I don't want to? But other people want me to, or I need to, or I promised, right? But what if I don't feel like it? And I can't, and if I just say, okay, I don't care, I'm gonna just do my thing, and you guys figure it out, I don't feel good, right? That's the whole point. I had this funny experience on Mother's Day when my beautiful family tried to take care of me, and they said, what do you want to do, Mama? And one of my most beautiful experiences on that day was a long nap. We had Sunday service, and my husband was gracious to give it, and he gave a beautiful message that people loved, and then he took us to lunch. And then we came home, and I'm like, I just want to sleep. Yeah, and in the evening, Ray came up to me and he said, Mama, what's for dinner? I said, I don't know. You guys figure it out. I don't know. So it was nice to feel like that for one day, but I know I won't feel nice doing this for many, many days going forward, right? And that's what I realized at some point, when I was praying, I got really frustrated and angry with God. I'm like, for goodness sake, I cannot even be selfish because you instilled in me and my whole time growing up in the church since 15 that we have to live for the sake of others. But what if I can't live for the sake of others anymore? It's okay, maybe I'll just do whatever I want to do, but I can't again. So it's like going in circles, right? So I am still on this journey, what I wanted to tell you, right? So whatever I say here, I'm still trying to embody myself. But I was hoping that together we can dive into it, right? And again, apparently what principle tells us, that there is no conflict, that it's all part of one circle, same thing, right? This purpose of the whole, which we say is in a more of a position of a subject, right? And then our own individual purpose. What are we created for? What is our life supposed to be like? And that's my true purpose comes from when it both comes together in a harmonious unity. Yeah. But then again, the question is, how do we do it? Like I told you, my struggle, right? How do I do it? So when I was praying about it, and again, my recent experiences, whenever I come to God with this predicament, what if I don't want to live for the sake of others anymore? I mean, I know I will. I'm not going to just drop all my responsibilities. I'm not going to just stop being a mother. And I love my community. But what if I don't want to? Right? And I really like this analogy that I heard, right? That it's like, an orchestra, right? That if orchestra will consist of only one instrument, that would not be inspiring, right? Even I was thinking today, this idea that if violin decided to be a drum, first of all, it would never be able to do it. It would be a pretty lousy drum. But also, if it will be only drums, and I thought, maybe marching band, right? It's mostly drums. But even in marching band, they have some other instruments too, right? If it's just drums, it's never as beautiful, right? And again, there are some people who don't like drums. What are we going to do about that, right? But the beautiful thing about the orchestra is that there's all different instruments, right? And those instruments each have their part, but when they all play together, the same song, then the beauty is born, right? So how do I become this instrument, right? And sometimes, in orchestra, there's this instrument, it's called like a triangle, right? Or like this big drum that like at the end, at the most climactic moment, there's like this boom. Maybe I'll be used like once, but still without this boom, the effect would be less, right? And it looks like some instruments work more, or they're more of a solo part. But that's the whole point, that only when all of them combine and come together, then it creates a beautiful symphony, right? So that's why it's so important to find this, what am I? And really embrace it, right? The problem, what happens with us a lot of times, right? Okay, let me go here, is that we, so many times, are in this fog, right? And unfortunately, that's what wanted to talk to you about, and I think, I have a feeling a lot of you could relate, right? That as these people who were called by God, by true parents, to live for the sake of others, most of us since a very early age, right? Then it many times we are so focused on this living for the sake of others, and we feel so compelled to do it. But unfortunately, what happens that a lot of times those negative feelings come, right? Again, fear, wounds, and comparison, right? I know I struggled with it again just yesterday. I woke up and I thought about it. Why some people have those beautiful properties. I know, right? They have the same ability as me, and they have these beautiful, beautiful gardens. my property is like a parched land because I was so tired and I had no desire to do anything, right? I was thinking, I feel really accomplished if I make dinner. And sorry, no flowers. Yeah, some still survived from previous years, right? But then, the whole point is comparison, right? We compare to other people. Why can't I be violin? Why can't I be? Maybe some people think, why can't I be drums? It's very powerful, right? I'm this flimsy little thing, or I'm a triangle, and they just make ding once in a while, right? So, and that's what a lot of times consumes us, right? That's how we feel. And what I loved is this quote from one Christian ministers who apparently wrote a few books, but apparently when people talk about purpose and individual value, he said this beautiful phrase: the place God calls you to is a place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. I think about it, such a deep point. And I feel like it encompasses beautifully this whole idea of individual purpose and the purpose of the whole. And many times, again, we just keep trying to focus on the one, right? Like, or one of those little rivers, right? I know what I feel happy about. What do I do with it, right? Or I see the need, so I have to take care of this need. But apparently, the most beautiful point is when you can bring two of those together. And I wanted to share you this beautiful story that I heard from Pastor Joy. You know, this beautiful lady who is being taken care of by our wonderful Iwamoto family, and she couldn't say enough praise words about them. It was so amazing to hear. Right? When I came to talk to her, she said, "Aren't they amazing, Kaya and Etsuo? How like lucky you are to have them in your community." And I was like, "Yeah, of course we are." But the beautiful story that she told, and she touched upon it a little bit when we had our Zoom meeting, but it's such an interesting story how she said, "I was retired, and my house I was thinking, what can I do sometimes with my evenings, and I like to bake. So I baked a bunch of cookies, and I thought, who can I share it with?" And then she said the students were passing by my house, and because her house was next to the university. So she said, I just set up the table. I felt stupid. I set up the table and put a sign, "Take a cookie, have fun with it." And then she said, I noticed that they were disappearing. People were taking them. And then she would start to leave some notes for people, like go, whatever, like sport team they had, or have a great final session, right? And she said, kids started leaving her little notes back. They started saying, "Thank you," or "That was beautiful." And she said, one day it just came to me. I thought, and I wrote this little message, she said, and I felt silly for that, but I said, if any of you want, you can come here on Friday at 6 o'clock, and we're gonna make a big cake for the homeless shelter, because a lot of times they don't have appropriate maybe they have some food, but dessert is definitely not big on their menu. And she said, I didn't know what's going to happen, but 6 people came, and they made a cake. And they brought it to a homeless shelter. And so there was overwhelming gratitude and beautiful reaction that came from those people who lived in the shelter. And she said, so we came back, we were sitting at my dining table, and they're saying, what now? What shall we do? And she said, I guess, yeah, let's see, let's brainstorm. Maybe at your university there is some opportunities for you to volunteer. And she said, when we researched, we realized there was not much. There were some overseas projects they were sponsoring, but there was not much. And she said, okay guys, what do you want to do? And they said, we want to feed kids. And they, anyway, long story short, now it's a full running nonprofit organization in North Carolina. And even Joy left, but the organization is still running. And one of the students who were there at her house at this dining table, who of course already graduated, is running it. Yeah. And I thought it's a beautiful story, right? And such a sweet one, right? Let me do something I love and see what happens. Yeah? And let me share it with people. And I thought it's a similar story that we heard also from our another local wonderful person, which is Chef Daniel Budd, right? The owner of Bud's Cafe. His Bud's Cafe, same thing. Pandemic, everything is falling apart, and he said, I just feel like I have to do it. And he started Red Hook Response, and he decided to help feed people, but mostly help people get connected and help people see that there is someone who cares, right? So, and if we try to think about it from this viewpoint, I think it might get inspiring. At least that's what I always feel. And I know that I remember hearing true mothers saying these words, that find something you love to do and do it for God and do it with God. Since then, I couldn't find exact quote. So if you see it, let me know. I even used AI that was created by our northeast region, but it gives me some kind of blabber. So if you find this quote, please let me know. I know here is a lot of beautiful people who love studying Mother's words, but I know she said it, right? So that's why I believe it's this important. But yeah, unfortunately, for us, good people, that's what many times happens, right? And I feel like, again, that's what we were talking about in the topic of relationships. That many times we feel that subject, right? This whole position, subject, object. Remember we were talking gives, receives, and I'm sure you again told other people about it. But somehow in our mind, or even in our language, it became what we call vertical. Subject is vertical, right? Something above you, something that commands you, something that is always, always in charge and has a priority. However, right, again, the original ideal and this whole spherical movement, yes, it's the one that gives you inspiration. It's the thing that it's someone or something that has a tremendous value and feeds you with inspiration and value. But unless there is a receiving action, unless there is an object to appreciate it and to embrace and connect, then it eventually stops working, right? So, and I feel like a lot of times for us, that's what became difficult point, right? That something I know I love, but later in the kingdom of heaven, maybe. In the spirit world, maybe. Now I have to be a unified soldier. Okay, good song, right? But I feel like so many times that's what became difficult. And that's why, unfortunately, a lot of young people in our movement, they couldn't sign up for it, right? So, and that's why it's so important to truly honor this point, this object purpose, right? And again, sometimes in the modern world, we also talk about like there's all this information and ideas about accomplishing, right? And again, creating. But I feel like the point is that it's there. It's always been there, right? We were born again with a certain talent, and that's why I thought this little movie about this boy could be inspirational, right? It's there. Each one of us has this something that we have. It's just, again, we get confused either because we think, oh, again, it's not so important, I cannot make money with it, or it's not so important to God's providence, right? And then we stop being true to ourselves. We're not honoring it. But apparently we have a permission from True Mother now. Find this talent, right? And of course, again, many times it happened that we started saying, okay, everybody should write songs. And we know not everybody can do this, and not everybody good at it, right? But every one of us has this something that is very special, that is unique to us. Yeah, it's just sometimes we don't trust. Yeah? Again, we still have this concept that it's something. It should be this way. Again, I should be a violin, right? And I feel like that's what the most important point, and that's what I try to put in this picture together, right? That between this sacred meeting between my true self and this higher purpose that Heavenly Parent has for me, and that the world's hunger is about. Yeah? And when both can be genuinely, harmoniously combined in our heart. And as long as we remember that, and as long as we honor both, then we should be able to find this unending source of joy. Yeah? And if we would be able to honor it truly in each other, this would be beautiful too. You know? And again, some of our talents might be obvious, and that's why it might be a little easier, or again, they're more appreciated by the society. But believe me, each person has something very, very special that only they could do. Yeah? Like I said, again, I was talking to someone, like this beautiful piece in here, right? Somebody put a lot of effort to create it. Time, some money, right? And now it can bring joy to us. And this person is not even here, right? But every time I look at it, I think, what an amazing eye for beauty, right? Or again, somebody, of course, can sing, right? Or somebody can be very smart and explain complicated concepts to you. But whatever it is, each one of us has this special gift, right? And it's beautiful, and it's very precious. Everything can be very important to someone else, right? And if you think about it from this viewpoint, again, that we are creating this beautiful symphony, and if each one of us can find this unique part, then it will be eventually bring us peace and bring us this sense of purpose that we are looking for so desperately, right? And maybe one little thing that I wanted to encourage us all to do, and especially for this week theme, maybe topic, is to try to see it in other people. What is it that is special about them? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be something big, something huge, but it's very special. Each person has it. And eventually, again, each one of us can find, doesn't matter how old we are, we can find it. And but sometimes it really helps when somebody tells you about it, right? That you are the person that makes everything light, or you're the person that makes everything clean and orderly, right? Or you're the person that always knows what to say. Or maybe you're the person I can just be quiet with. Yeah. And this is amazing. We don't even realize how much it means, right? All those little things. So, yeah, hopefully I really wish that this week and going forward, each one of us can think about this point, find this music within, find who you are, find what is it, your gladness. Let me go back to this slide. I really love it. And I love how it turned out. Right? Your deep gladness and the world's deepest hunger in it. And let's help each other to see this. Yeah, that really is one of the most beautiful things we can do for each other. Please join me in prayer. Our dear beloved Heavenly Parent, we are grateful to be here with you on this Sunday morning, and we hope that you can find peace with us. And we are so sorry that so many times it is difficult for you, because your love and your joy is right there. And if you only could show us how special and unique each one of us is, and that there is nothing small or insignificant about the things that we love, the things that bring us joy, the things that make our heart leap. Heavenly Parent. So we want to learn to trust that feeling, and to trust that you are living inside. Your joy, again, your beautiful purpose living inside of the heart of each one of us. So help us make effort to honor it, and make also effort to honor it in other people. Help us have this very sensitive eye for beauty, for gentleness, for goodness inside the heart of each one of us. And we know that sometimes we don't feel like we're playing very beautiful symphony, but still there is a music being born here in this community. And we know that each person has their unique, beautiful part to play, even if we don't think about it when we look at ourselves. But you are there. And help us to learn to appreciate it in ourselves, and appreciate it in each other, and truly complete the circle. So you and everyone around us and the beautiful world of creation would feel like they can complete this circle together with us, and keep the love and joy and purpose will keep moving. So on behalf of all of us, I want to offer this time and gratitude to you, in the name of all the families gathered here, and in the name of Kazakh Central Blessed Family, in attendance to Holy Mother Han. Adju.